This week on The Downsized, we explore a leaked federal proposal that could bring GLP-1 coverage for obesity to Medicare and Medicaid, a White House push to lower drug prices, and the appointment of Novo Nordisk's new CEO amid organizational reshuffling. Plus, you'll hear top-line results from the Surpass CVOT study on Mounjaro and a bold new move into liver disease by an emerging GLP-1 player. Big developments and big implications for obesity care coming.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Downsized News. It's Monday, August 4th, 2025, and we're glad you're here. Today we're diving into the latest on GLP-1s. I'm Laraine Durham, and I've lost over 50 pounds with tirzepatide. This journey changed my life, and I'm here to help you feel informed, empowered, and supported every step of the way. So if you're ready for some real talk, updates that matter, and a little motivation along the way, stick around for updates you may not see anywhere else.
I'm Christopher Durham. I've lost a little more than 100 pounds on this adventure using GLP-1s, and we're talking real experience, not theory. We're here to give you the real story about the medication that's changing lives, the system making it harder than it needs to be, and the science that's pushing it forward.
If you're new to our channel, welcome. If you've been with us for a while, welcome back. We always like to mention that we're not doctors, but we have lost weight with the help of GLP-1 medication. We publish videos on GLP-1 topics every day, so go ahead and like and subscribe now to The Downsized. You know you don't want to miss out on any episodes.
From Mounjaro and Zepbound to Wegovy and Ozempic, semaglutide and tirzepatide, and anything new in GLP-1s or obesity management and development, we're covering it all. New research, policy updates, new meds in the pipeline. Let's get into what matters for those of us using GLP-1s to treat the disease of obesity. Before we get to our first two stories, we want to be clear. The Downsized is not a political channel, but GLP-1 medications and the disease of obesity have become part of the national conversation. When policy decisions affect access, affordability, or treatment, we believe it's our job to talk about them. These next two stories sit at the intersection of politics and obesity care. They're not about whether you support or oppose any politician. We're here to fight obesity, not each other. We also want to say this: we firmly believe that true and lasting change, laws, will take a bipartisan effort. It's going to require action from leaders on both sides of the aisle and support from all of us who care about health, equity, and science. So as always, let's keep the comments respectful and on topic. No name calling, no conspiracy theories, no political chaos, just honest conversation about how we move forward together.
In story number one, right now, if you're on Medicare or Medicaid and you've been prescribed a GLP-1 medication like Ozempic or Mounjaro for type 2 diabetes, there's a good chance it's covered. But if you're taking those same medications to treat obesity alone, you're probably paying out of pocket, if you can access them at all. That's because Medicare and Medicaid don't cover GLP-1s for obesity. It's a decades-old policy, and it impacts millions of people. But that may be about to change. This week, the Washington Post reported on a leaked draft document outlining a new federal pilot program. If it moves forward, it would, for the first time ever, allow Medicare and Medicaid to begin covering GLP-1 medications specifically for the treatment of obesity. Let's be very clear, this is not a done deal. It is a draft. It has not been finalized. It may still be revised, and it may never be implemented. But this is the first time a federal document has put the idea of covering GLP-1s for obesity clearly on the table. The program would run through the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation. That's the branch of Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, but tests new payment models and care strategies before they're rolled out nationally. According to the draft, state Medicaid programs could start offering coverage in April of 2026. Medicare Part D prescription plans could follow in January of 2027. The program would be voluntary, meaning individual states and insurance plans could decide whether or not to participate. Coverage would focus on FDA-approved weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound, and potentially could include Ozempic and Mounjaro when prescribed off-label for obesity. When asked for a comment, a CMS spokesperson said, all drug coverages undergo a cost-benefit review. CMS does not comment on potential models or coverage. In other words, they're not confirming it, but they're also not denying it. If this pilot moves forward, it would mark a major shift in how our healthcare system treats obesity. Until now, a 20-year-old exclusion has prevented Medicare from covering anti-obesity medications. That treated obesity like a cosmetic issue rather than the chronic disease that it is. A shift in that thinking, even through a limited pilot, would be a powerful signal. It could also influence the broader healthcare market. When Medicare and Medicaid begin covering something, commercial insurers often take notice. Currently, some Americans are paying out of pocket for Wegovy and Zepbound at over $1,000 a month, but most Americans can't afford that current retail price. Medicare and Medicaid coverage could open the first real path for people to be able to afford these medications. Of course, this is still just a draft. There may be a public comment period. The details could change, and it's entirely possible the pilot never makes it past the planning stage. But the existence of this document matters, because federal policymakers are explicitly acknowledging the fact that obesity is a disease, and people living with obesity deserve treatment. We'll keep watching this story and let you know as soon as anything becomes official.
So the most common question about all of these Medicaid, Medicare stories is, well, first of all, it's, will my drugs be covered? And potentially in this plan they will. Second, it's, so what, I don't have Medicaid or Medicare, right? This is good for everybody.
It might
Right.
trickle down to
If
everybody.
Medicaid, Medicare covers it, typically other insurance policies follow. It's a snowball effect. All right, story number 2. Last week on the Downsized, I brought you a story that covered a high-profile move by President Donald Trump that could affect the future of pricing of GLP-1 medications in the United States. The administration sent letters to 17 pharmaceutical companies, including Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, urging them to voluntarily lower the prices of their drugs in the United States. That includes medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound. But let's be clear, it was across all drugs, so it wasn't just a GLP-1 conversation. The letters suggested that U.S. prices should be brought in line with the lowest prices charged in other developed countries, a model often referred to as most favored nation pricing. As an example, the administration floated a target price of $199 per month for these medications. It's important to be clear, these letters are not laws. They carry no legal authority. They do not mandate price changes. They are not tied to any executive order or any formal regulatory action. At this stage, they appear to be a negotiation tactic or possibly a public pressure campaign designed to influence drug makers. Some analysts have described the move as a political signal or a strategic first step. Others have called it a scare tactic. Turns out Mr. Trump and his team basically are saying, hey, if you don't do what we want to do in the next 60 days, we've got tariffs, we've got all these other things we're going to bring against you. Regardless of the intent, it sparked significant reaction among investors. Stock prices for both Lilly and Novo Nordisk dipped following the news, reflecting the uncertainty around future policy. Whether or not this leads to real pricing changes remains to be seen. Implementing most favored nation pricing would likely require new regulations or legislation, both of which come with legal and procedural hurdles. That said, it's rare for a sitting president to call out specific drug prices or drug companies so directly. As always, our focus is on access, affordability, and what this means for people using these medications to treat the disease of obesity. Is this going to happen? Who knows? I mean, I think it's interesting that the president has talked about changing the prices.
And sent letters to,
Yeah.
among others, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, and suggesting a most favored
Well, and
nation pricing.
15 other drug companies. So,
Right. So not just our two favorites, but a lot of them. And, you know, and why should we pay $1,000 when other countries are paying $199 or less? It's a great question.
well, if he'd like to lead, what I'd love for him to do is lead a bipartisan effort to change the law. Get the congressmen and the senators together, write new laws, He can lead it.
What new laws would you like to be?
There's a whole list of new laws. Let's get rid of PBMs. Let's put regulatory restrictions on pricing.
Well,
Let's talk about, he could lead an entire agenda.
Can we pass the Treat and Reduce Obesity Act?
That'd be a good start.
I mean, TROA, we talked a lot about that at the Obesity Action Coalition conference last week.
So sit down with the legislatures and let's make some new laws, man. There's a way to fix this.
In story number 3, this week Novo Nordisk announced its much-anticipated new CEO. This is a major leadership change at the company behind Ozempic, Wegovy, and some of the most powerful GLP-1 medications in the world. Starting August 7th, Masar Mike Dard will take over as president and chief executive officer. Novo is set to report its half-year performance the day before on August 6th. Dard will succeed Lars Jorgensen, whose surprise abdication was announced in May after 34 years with Novo Nordisk. Dard is an Iranian-born Austrian national who grew up in the United States. He has been with Novo Nordisk since 1992. The CEO transition comes as Novo struggles to maintain its lead in the burgeoning weight loss market amid growing competition from Eli Lilly and GLP-1 compounders. Also on Tuesday, Novo lowered its 2025 sales outlook by 5 and 7 percentage points on the low and high end, respectively. The firm now expects full-year sales to grow between 8% and 14%. Dard currently leads international operations that covers more than 80 countries. Under his leadership, global sales more than doubled. In 2024, international operations brought in nearly $16 billion. He's helped bring life-changing medications to over 35 million people around the world. Novo picked Dard after a comprehensive process that included external and internal candidates, the company said in a July 29th release. Mike has consistently demonstrated the ability to drive growth through strong commercial execution and building high-performance teams, Novo Chair Heij Lund said in a statement. This is an important moment for Novo Nordisk, Lund continued. The market is developing rapidly and the company needs to address recent market challenges with speed and ambition. I believe Novo Nordisk will build on its strengths as a global leader in obesity and diabetes, and Mike has a clear vision of how to unlock the full potential of the opportunities ahead. Here's what he said about the new role. It's an enormous privilege to lead this company at a time of tremendous opportunity and change. I come to this role with a sense of urgency, a laser focus on high performance, and a fierce determination for Novo Nordisk to aim higher than it's ever done. But the market didn't cheer the move, as many analysts had hoped for an outsider. Also on August 7th, Novo is reorganizing its research and development teams. Early research and late-stage development will merge into one unit. The goal is faster innovation, especially in obesity and diabetes. Martin Holtz-Lange will lead this new R&D group as Chief Scientific Officer. Current CSO Marcus Schindler is retiring but will stay on to help with the transition. And Dard's former role of Executive Vice President of International Operations will go to Emil Kungshock Larsen. Here's what Novo's new top team looks like starting August 7th. Mike Dard, President and CEO, Martin Holtz-Lange, Chief Scientific Officer, Emil Kungshock Larsen, EVP of International Operations, plus senior leaders across product strategy, U.S. operations, supply chain, and more. This is a critical moment for Novo. Demand for GLP-1s is sky high. Access, supply, and affordability are all under pressure, and the competition from Eli Lilly is heating up. Mike Dard says he's ready. Only time will tell.
So, what do you think his first move is?
Well, we hope it's to lower the prices. Mike, if you're watching, lower those Wegovy prices, would you?
Undoubtedly. I mean, I think if he's going to maintain the lead, they've got to take the prices down. I think you're going to see a $199 price on.
Well, Eli Lilly's Zepbound has been beating Wegovy lately. So, and Wegovy and Ozempic were the leaders.
And I mean, here, so Wegovy doesn't perform quite as well in weight loss with tirzepatide, but if it's $200 a month cheaper, $300 a month cheaper,
if it's $199
the value equation,
I would definitely switch to it and try it.
I mean, particularly for people who are just now starting.
Right. It's about price. A lot of this is about price.
I mean, why wouldn't you try it if it were that And that could double the size of the market, triple the size of the market. Could be crazy.
Take it all away from compounders right there.
Yep. Story number 4, just days after announcing its new CEO, Novo Nordisk made another big move. This week, the company cut its 2025 sales outlook. Novo expects growth between 8 and 14%. That's down from the earlier estimate of 13 to 21%, and well below the 26% growth they saw in 2024. The news sent the stock sliding. Shares dropped more than 20% after the announcement. Outgoing CEO Lars Jorgensen said compounded GLP-1s are part of the problem. He told reporters that compounded versions of semaglutide are still widely available in the United States. This continues even though the FDA has declared the shortage over. Jorgensen said about 1 million patients are still using compounded GLP-1s.
It's a lot.
1 million patients.
I mean, they're just estimating. They have no way to know.
No, they don't, but
They're guessing.
it's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
He said the company had expected that number to drop, but it did not. Despite the fact that it is now illegal, his words, it's still happening. Novo's earlier guidance assumed compounded sales would decline. Instead, they've remained steady. These products are sold through a growing number of telehealth providers and 503A compounding pharmacies. These companies say they're operating legally. They prepare medications for individual patients with valid prescriptions. And in many cases, doctors prescribe compounded versions when patients cannot tolerate the branded drugs. Side effects like nausea or dizziness are common reasons. Novo previously ended its partnership with Hims & Hers after the company refused to stop selling compounded semaglutide. But Hims is just one example. The overall compounding market continues to grow. More telehealth platforms are offering semaglutide injections at lower costs. Meanwhile, competitor Eli Lilly is taking a more aggressive stance. Lilly is lobbying Congress to help enforce FDA guidance. They want compounded GLP-1s off the market. Jorgensen says compounding will eventually disappear, but he admits it will take time. It will take some time before it's completely out of the market, he said, and we have a fair chance of regaining our fair share. Mike Dard, Novo's incoming CEO, responded to the stock reaction. I don't like it as an employee, as a CEO-elect, and I certainly don't like it as a shareholder, he said. But setbacks don't define companies. Our response does. He officially steps in, as Laraine said in the last story, on August 7th. And with compounding still rising, the response will need to be fast. Again, $199 Wegovy.
I mean, just lower the price, Mike.
And, people are out there going, they can't lower the price. They can't lower the price. They want to make all that money. I'm telling you, they will increase their top line. They'll increase their sales. They'll increase their volume, and they'll increase their dollar profit. Maybe not their margin profit, but their dollar profit will go up.
Yeah, so $1,000 a month for the amount of people who can pay that are this big, or $199, the amount of people that can pay it is
That's right.
gigantic. So, these medications cost them very little to manufacture, and they're making billions per quarter. So I think it's time. I think it's high time they lower the price.
And I think it's actually a $199 medication. It just does not perform as well as tirzepatide in the research.
You think it's You think it's worth $199?
Yeah, I do.
And story number 5, big news out of Eli Lilly this week, and it's all about Mounjaro. We now have top-line results from the largest and longest trial ever run on tirzepatide. And for people with type 2 diabetes and heart disease, the findings are promising. This was the Surpass CVOT trial, a massive head-to-head cardiovascular outcome study comparing Mounjaro to Trulicity, Lilly's older GLP-1. Trulicity already had proven heart benefits from the 2019 Rewind trial, so the bar wasn't low. But Mounjaro met the primary goal, showing non-inferiority on what's called MACE-3. That's a combined risk of heart attack, stroke, or cardiovascular death. And not only did it meet the bar, Mounjaro showed an 8% lower rate of MACE-3 events compared to Trulicity. But here's the bigger story. All-cause mortality, which is death from any other cause, was 16% lower on Mounjaro. That wasn't even the primary goal of the study, but the signal was strong. Patients on Mounjaro also lost more weight, lowered their A1C by more, and had slower kidney decline, especially those at high risk of chronic kidney disease. For example, A1C dropped by 1.73% on Mounjaro, versus 0.9% on Trulicity. Average weight loss at 36 months was 25 pounds on Mounjaro versus 10 on Trulicity. Kidney function decline was 3.5 milliliters per minute slower in high-risk patients. There's also a pre-specified indirect comparison showing that Mounjaro reduced major cardiovascular events by 28% and all-cause mortality by 39%, compared to a putative placebo. That analysis used matched data from the Rewind and Surpass CVOT trials, and while it's not a direct placebo study, it adds weight to the evidence. As for safety, the side effect profile was consistent with what we already know. GI side effects were the most common. Most were mild to moderate and resolved after dose escalation. Discontinuation rates were slightly higher with Mounjaro, about 13%, compared to 10% for Trulicity. Lilly says full results will be presented at the EASD meeting in September and submitted to global regulators by the end of the year. This could support a label update and a stronger case for Mounjaro to be considered not just for glycemic control, but for cardiovascular risk reduction in people with type 2 diabetes. And for those of us already using tirzepatide, whether it's Zepbound or Mounjaro, it's one more data point suggesting we're not just treating symptoms, we're extending health span. Is that a word?
And story number 6, Madrigal Pharmaceuticals is making a bold move into the GLP-1 space, and it could reshape the way we treat liver disease. On July 30th, Madrigal announced a new global licensing agreement with CSPC Pharmaceutical Group. They've acquired the rights to SYH2086, a preclinical oral GLP-1 receptor agonist that could be a game changer when combined with Rezdiffra. Let's hope they give it a snappier name. So MASH is also known as metabolic dysfunction-associated steatohepatitis. This new compound, SYH2086, is a small molecule GLP-1 agonist and a derivative of orforglipron, one of the most talked about oral obesity drugs in development today. Madrigal plans to begin human trials in the first half of 2026, but they're already making big claims. They believe combining SYH2086 with Rezdiffra could deliver a once-a-day, well-tolerated pill that offers both weight loss and anti-fibrotic benefits, something no single drug currently does. Here's why they're confident. In the phase 3 Maestro-NASH trial, Madrigal found that even modest weight loss, just 5% or more, enhanced the liver fibrosis benefits of Rezdiffra. So the thinking is clear. Pair it with a GLP-1 to boost weight loss, and you may get better outcomes for patients with MASH. Financially, it's a big deal. Madrigal is paying $120 million upfront to CSPC, with the potential for up to $2 billion more in milestone payments, plus royalties on future sales. CSPC retains the right to develop other oral GLP-1s in China, but Madrigal now holds exclusive global rights to SYH2086. Preclinical data has been promising. In animals, SYH2086 showed strong blood sugar control and weight loss effects with no major safety concerns in a linear pharmacokinetic profile, meaning it behaves predictably across doses. If it holds up in human trials, this drug could be a powerful add-on for Rezdiffra and a major new option for the millions of people living with MASH, a disease that's now the leading cause of liver transplant in women and a fast-growing concern across the United States and Europe. We talk a lot about how GLP-1s are changing the game for obesity, but this is another example of how these medications, especially oral ones, are starting to expand into new disease areas. And as more companies explore more combination therapies, we could see new, more personalized treatment options for people dealing with overlapping conditions like obesity, diabetes, and liver disease. Super exciting. And when we were at the Obesity Coalition's convention in Washington, I guess last week, the week before, there was a number of people I spoke to that were fighting liver disease. And honestly, the GLP-1s had done well, but they needed some more help. So
hopefully this can help them.
And that wraps up this edition of the Downsized News. We hope that today's update gave you something helpful for your own GLP-1 adventure.
And if you're looking for things that can help you with your GLP-1 journey, visit our website at thedownsized.org. There you'll find links to our 2026 Downsized Cruise, our GLP-1 Amazon store, and our email list. We are Amazon affiliates. When you shop through our store, you're helping support the channel at no cost to you, and we thank you for your support.
If you haven't already, please take a moment, like this video, subscribe to the Downsized, and tap that notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. We break down the science so you don't have to. We give you the news. We tell you about our lives, and we see you every day. We hope you will join us and be a part of the Downsized community.
I'm Laraine Durham.
And I'm Christopher Durham, and we are the Downsized. We'll see you next time.